An airliner tire can be a ticking bomb if not treated correctly, and this proved out at a Delta maintenance facility, killing two and injuring another, and OSHA has levied a fine. The legal action is already starting, and we'll find out what links this horrible tragedy to the crash that shut down the Concorde on this episode of Taking Off. Hi, I'm Dan Milliken, and imagine clocking into work at one of the busiest airports in the world, expecting just another day on the job. For Luis Alderando, a 37-year-old Delta Airlines mechanic, August 27, 2024 started like any other shift until a tire explosion at Delta's maintenance facility in Atlanta claimed his life along with a co-worker's and left another seriously injured. And now, nearly 8 months later, Alderando's family is taking Delta to court with a lawsuit filed against the airline. Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport is the main hub for Delta Airlines, where over 250,000 passengers per day travel. In the Technical Operations Maintenance Facility, known as Delta TechOps, mechanics like Luis Alderando maintain aircraft. And on August 27, 2024, Alderando was working in the wheel and brake shop where tires and components are disassembled, repaired, and then reassembled. And that morning, an incident occurred. Around 5 a.m., a tire being worked on exploded. Witnesses reported a piece of metal shot through the shop, killing Alderando and 50-year-old Mirko Marweg instantly. A third worker, Caleb Pline, was critically injured, and reports indicated the blast was powerful, and Marweg's body was identified by his tattoos and a lanyard. Just recently, Sonia Cruz, Alderando's partner and the mother of his two children, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Delta Airlines in Gwinnett County, Georgia, on March 28, 2025. Representing Alderando's estate and their children, Cruz's suit includes several claims against the airline. These start with that Delta failed to protect workers from struck-by hazards. These are risks from objects like a tire rim or shrapnel moving through the air during maintenance. Aircraft tires are pressurized with nitrogen to around 200 pounds per square inch, which is 6 to 8 times the pressure of a typical car tire. And when a tire explodes, the energy can cause parts to become projectiles. It basically becomes a grenade, with the difference being the shrapnel can be quite large. And the lawsuit also claims Delta did not ensure that the tires were properly deflated before the mechanics worked on them. Industry standards require tires to be deflated before maintenance begins, including before removal from the aircraft to prevent explosions. The complaint alleges Delta failed to develop and implement adequate tire deflation procedures, leaving their workers at risk. Additionally, the lawsuit argues Delta breached its duty to provide a safe workplace, a responsibility that employers have under the law. And it states that this breach led to Alderando's death. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, investigated the incident and cited Delta in February of 2025, fining them $16,500 for not protecting workers from recognized hazards and failing to enforce proper deflation practices. And we'll get to Delta's response in a moment. Luis Alderando was 37, a father of two from Puerto Rico who trained in Florida before moving to Atlanta to work for Delta. His death leaves a void for his partner, Sonia Cruz, and their children. The lawsuit seeks damages for the value of his life, funeral costs, personal injury from his death, and compensation for pain and suffering. The family has requested a jury trial. Delta's response is that they've stated that safety is a priority and that they conducted an internal investigation after the incident, implementing corrective actions aligned with OSHA's findings. The company has not provided further comment on the lawsuit or any specifics on what that corrective action entails. The incident involved aircraft maintenance, an area where tire explosions have occurred before. In 2019, the California Department of Public Health's Occupational Health Branch released a report detailing the death of a stationary engineer at an airport due to an exploding jet bridge tire. The incident occurred when the victim and a coworker were disassembling a tire and wheel assembly from an airport passenger boarding bridge in a maintenance shop. The employees from the previous shift had removed the assembly and placed it in the shop, but the tire remained fully pressurized. As the two workers began removing the nuts and bolts holding the wheel together, the tire exploded, striking the victim in the head and neck with lethal force. The report notes that the valve stem had not been removed to release the air pressure, a critical safety step that was overlooked. The California Fatality Assessment and Control Evaluation investigator determined that the explosion could have been prevented by following proper procedures. The high-pressure tire, typical of aircraft equipment, released its energy uncontrollably due to the failure to deflate it prior to disassembly. And to prevent similar incidents, the report recommends that employers implement strict safety programs ensuring tires are deflated before any work begins, and to consider replacing pneumatic tires with solid rubber alternatives, and provide certified commercial tire service training or hire qualified technicians. The rubber alternative might work for a jet bridge tire maybe, but most likely would be way too heavy for an airliner. So they're going to have to implement the safety procedures. Other similar incidents have occurred over the years in aviation, with the tire pressures being extremely high. Incorrectly working on a tire can and does lead to serious injury or death. And while not occurring in a maintenance facility, one of the most well-known tire explosions grounded the entire Concorde fleet. In July of 2000 at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, a DC-10 took off, but it dropped a thin strip of titanium alloy. It's about 16 inches long. And this strip had been improperly installed on a thrust reverser and came to rest on the runway. Minutes later, the Concorde, Air France Flight 4590, began its takeoff roll. As it accelerated towards V1, it rolled over the debris, punching the left main landing gear, tire number 2, which was inflated to 232 psi, and it exploded. It wasn't a simple blowout. The explosion propelled large chunks of rubber, some weighing up to 10 pounds at high velocity. And one fragment, estimated to be traveling at a speed of over 300 miles per hour, struck the underside of the left wing. It didn't rupture the fuel tank immediately, but created a hydrodynamic shock wave. This water hammer effect, that's what ruptured the tank's skin. Fuel started coming out and instantly ignited. The plane had just passed the point of no return, V1, but the fire had now engulfed engines 1 and 2 on the left side. The fire melted control surfaces, and with the asymmetric thrust, the short flight was doomed, and it crashed into a hotel just off the airport. All 109 on the plane and 4 on the ground were killed. Airline tires are a dangerous part of the job, and as such are respected in safety procedures and protocols. The Concorde was grounded for a year and a half while modifications, including lining the tanks with Kevlar, were conducted. But the world's first supersonic airliner never recovered, and service ceased in 2003. Working around these tires, which can be akin to super large grenades, there are best practices most airlines have in place. And generally, these include, first, removing the tire from the aircraft. The standard practice is to deflate it immediately and pull the core to ensure that there's no pressure. And then the tire is transported to the shop to be disassembled, which consists of 2 halves bolted together with the tire mounted around it. And this step also requires a verification that the tire is deflated because of the explosion hazard. After inspection and repairs, it's reassembled, and while in a safety cage, the tire is reinflated and is monitored for some time after to make sure that it's good to go. My takeaway is that I need to remember to give any job that has a safety component the respect it deserves, to not get complacent or lax. And I'm not saying that happened here, but this is just a good reminder for me. A reminder to also follow procedures. Many times in aviation, they're written in blood. And that to remember that the mundane, like tires, can be life or death. Thanks for watching this report on the tire explosion at the Delta Maintenance Facility in Atlanta. I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this possible, like ClemensInsurance.net. They saved me a lot of money when I switched over to them. We've got a link below and a link to our other sponsors as well. Please check them out. Supporting them helps support us. And if you want to see our other report, check it out right here. Remember, superior judgment trumps superior skill. Take care.